Have you ever heard of the richest man in Babylon? No? Well, let me tell you about the parables of this one particular man who had a limitless supply of golden treasures and his fortune continued to rise. This starts with Arkad, who had a big amount of fortune. Arkad was titled the richest man of Babylon, with him growing financially. Fortunately, Arkad was not a snob, not like how we portray big shot rich people. Arkad had a kind soul and would always donate to charities. Even with his generous donations, he still had an endless amount of gold and fortune. Two friends were amazed by Arkad's life and they were eager to know the hidden technique of growing rich. These two friends were named Bansir and Kabi. Although they are friends with Arkad, their lives weren't exactly extravagant as they were poor. Arkad started telling his story. He had told the two friends that before, he was as well unlucky with fortune. This is an extremely profound lesson. He was a poor man who had to bargain with a wealthy man. Arkad agreed to work on a clay inscription in exchange for the disclosure of the rich man's secret methods for accumulating wealth. The wealthy man consented and presented him with a valuable saying. It's the foundation on which every wealthy person has built their fortune. He stated his lesson. When I resolved that a part of everything should be mine, I discovered the path to wealth. I kept everything I earned, and you will as well. The richest man of Babylon, the man with an endless fortune, Arkad, didn't get rich by spending more money than he could manage. He grew wealthy by putting money aside, specifically 10% of his earnings, and put it to work in ways that would bring in more money. Not only was he the richest man in Babylon, but he mastered the 5 laws of gold. Money talks in different ways. Welcome to Money Talk, where we could turn you into a money genius within minutes. Hey, don't forget to hit that like button below. And while you're at it, subscribe and hit the notification bell for Money Talk for more money advice videos. The first law of gold has been shown by Arkad, which is to set aside 10% of your earnings for investment. The book entitled The Richest Man in Babylon, the book wherein we got to understand Arkad's method of financially prospering, quoted that, any guy who will set aside gold will get it joyfully and in increasing quantities. Not less than a tenth of his earnings to establish an estate for his future of his relatives. Numerous people are often complaining about how little they have. They'll always believe that no matter how much wealth they have, they'll always have nothing left at the end of the month. They then reason out the inadequate compensation of their company's offered salary. This principle is related to the concept of paying oneself first. The wealthy recognize that paying oneself first is a powerful solution to wealth creation and financial independence. Although the complaints of several individuals regarding their money not being able to prosper due to different circumstances are valid and understandable, however, if one observes where their money ends up, they'll notice that what they have considered as priorities or needs or responsibilities are not necessary expenses. Those dinner dates and weekly shopping finds could actually be considered a major waste of money and may affect badly on your profit. So, follow this tip. For every monthly paycheck you'll receive, always set aside 10% of what you have received. Then from that, you could use the rest of your salary for your bills, house rent, and other needed payables that are due every month. If you do keep this routine up every month, then your savings would be large enough for you to leisurely enjoy luxurious things in life and to also help you during a crisis or when you would need emergency money like hospital bills or accidents that may be life-threatening and bank-threatening. The second law of gold stated in the book is to invest and fund your earned wealth. The book quoted the second law as, gold laboreth diligently and contentedly for the wise owner who finds for it profitable employment, multiplying even as the flocks of the field. Luxury is what we all dreamed of. To be compensated with a jaw-dropping amount of money that can be able to afford the lifestyle we aspire to have. But even the richest man in Babylon had control over his finances and was not easily swayed by the desire to live in luxury. He used the basic rule in life, which is to differentiate your wants and your needs. It is a struggle to differentiate between the two, especially with technological advancements. The simple wants back in the old days are now considered needs in today's time. If you don't need it, then don't buy it. Although you have collected tons for your savings, you just can't spend them all in one sitting. That would just bankrupt you in a second. So invest your money properly. There are a lot of opportunities in how you can invest your fortune. This could be through stocks or businesses. Try to imagine this analog. Treat your money as your little puppies. Oh, so cute, right? Well, if you have a puppy and you let them out of the field, then they bring back twigs or bones to you. The more puppies you release into the yard, the more twigs and bones they'd offer you on your doorstep. But a puppy is nothing compared to a large investment that will handle your money. So before agreeing on funding your money in a certain business or anything, always make sure that you have consented to it and that you are aware of the terms and conditions. Make rational decisions in order for your money to come back in doubles or in thousands. But before we proceed to the rest of the laws of gold, let me ask you, what do you usually do after you receive money or your monthly paycheck? Do you also follow the first law of gold with keeping your money? We want to hear from you. Comment down below on what you usually do. So, where were we? Oh yes, the third law of gold. This principle is all about fishing and setting one's sights on proper judgment before investing your money. The book quoted, "Gold clingeth to the protection of the owner who invested under the advice of men wise in its handling." Wouldn't it hurt you if you would even lose a single nickel of your hard-earned money just because it was displaced or it was managed wrong due to inexperience by the one you have trusted to handle it? Sometimes people would make rash investments because they are overwhelmed by the idea of earning more. Those scenarios always end in them losing more of what they bargained for because they were unable to be wise with their financial decisions. So before making any money-related decisions, always think and discuss it like how you discuss other important decisions like marriage or having a child. Also, seek to invest it in professionals who are skilled in handling these and who studied well in this course. They are more knowledgeable about these things like bankers or financial advisors. This statement then leads us to the second to the last law. The fourth law of gold. The book quoted, "Gold slippeth away from the man who invested in business or purposes with which he is not familiar, or which are not approved by those skills in its keep." So how about we look into the future? You are now standing in piles of your fortune. This is thanks to your perseverance in following the first law of gold, which was putting aside 10% of your income every month. As you were scrolling on the web, you came across an advertisement that says, "Invest your money to us and we'll double it back to you." Now, you have thought about how you are not that knowledgeable about these, but you do have a sense in how to decipher from what a scam is. But the moment you have heard the word invest and double, you got swayed and invested right away without second thoughts, or even seeking financial advice from an expert. A week has passed and now you actually have lost the fortune that you earned hard for. Now, isn't that the scary side of the future if you are unable to consider the fourth rule? It is basic common sense that if you are not aware of these kinds of things, then don't get into it. Or if you are still so curious, then just ask an expert that could help you walk through it. Now, let's try to change the fate of your future. Instead of being clueless on how to handle your fortune, instead seek advice from a trustworthy expert. Second, don't get easily swayed by ads that would come up your way without reading and fact-checking them. As the internet and web grow, we are all prone to scams, so be reminded to be always cautious. But what happens when you still haven't learned your lesson? Despite now losing your money, you are going to gamble and use your so-called luck in casinos instead of trying to manage it since you may be in debt. Then listen carefully to the fifth law if you still want to keep your fortune. The fifth law of gold quoted, "Gold flees the man who would force it to impossible earnings, or who followeth the alluring advice of tricksters and schemers, or who trusteth to his own inexperience and romantic desires in investment." There are certain people who promise investment returns that are simply too wonderful to be true. Because of the Ponzi scheme arrangement, it works for a while, but when the system blows up, most of the people who invested with them fall. If you would continue to be blinded by false promises from investors who are actually scammers, then you might not get even a single penny back. The richest man in Babylon has not only taught his two friends, but also gave us a valuable lecture on how to prosper financially with integrity and wisdom. To ensure a stable financial life, then keep in mind the lessons from the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, written by George Samuel Clayson in 1926 as he introduced Arkad to us. Well, that is enough money talk for today. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up below. And want to watch more of our videos? Click the subscribe button and that notification bell to be notified of new videos weekly. Let's learn more about money in simple ways here in Money Talk, where money talks in different ways. Thanks everyone and see you in the next video. Ciao!